in the camera. We official now, boy. We really podcasters now, boy. We got the whole setup, boy.
We finally
podcasters in this bitch.
When we on the arrogant asshole page.
Nah, you on YouTube,
we on straight
nigga.
YouTube.
You big boy now for your 40th episode.
40. It's 40, which we did like 400
Or
episodes.
for whatever you just said. Nigga.
400 episodes.
What is on it? Just Black?
Yeah.
All right.
That's what we got. This what we got. We gotta get you on YouTube.
Black, can you see it?
I got one.
But you gotta start taking it. You gotta start really taking
it. Is it live?
Yeah.
Turn the mics down for a second.
We gotta get you on all the way down.
Yeah. How's the camera look?
Hold on, let me see. We look good on here. Let me make sure. Go on to YouTube and see. You see it? Look at. Let's see what. Yeah, we all the way live. Yeah, we all the way live. Yeah. But you got to get active on your YouTube. What's your shout it out right now?
Hold on. What is my damn YouTube? I think it's Mohawk Down at Gmail. Well, I think I changed that bitch.
YouTube. What's your shout it out right now?
Hold on. What is my damn? We look like real old niggas.
Yeah, we look old, but that's the
hold on. Let me.
You said you wanted to look better, goddammit.
No, I'm talking about like how we talking.
Are we trying to get like the see that look? That's the thing, man. With the whole shit, we had.
Mine's is the magnificent asshole.
We done had future Hall of Fame football players. We done had sign artists, major labels, all come to our live show, do our live show, but we wasn't really up on the technology part of it, so we missed out on the opportunity to broadcast ourselves outside of Orlando.
Yeah,
should have linked up with me.
He definitely was innovative.
Yeah, so we was killing the game even then. But that's 4 years ago now. 4 years ago, before not anybody, but people in our community knew what a podcast was. We was like one of the first ones doing a podcast. And then and even when we was trying to get our first guest, people was like, "Oh, what's a podcast?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they did it off the strength, you know what I mean? Especially the early guys like Tony Boy turning up right now. But shout out to Tony Boy. Shout out to
matter of fact, he still holds the record as being the. Well, no, I think Strings probably beat him now. The most person that been on the show.
But they about to come back on too though, because Tony Boy heating up. All right, he hot. But even those early guests like Tony Boy, Menace, the girl Menace was the first one.
Yeah, shout out to Menace. She was our first guest.
She's working for Black Ink. Shout out to Black Ink too, and Trap.
Shout out to Trap.
Trap and them boys in Black Ink. They just opened up another one in Jacksonville, Black Ink Jacksonville.
Yep, they always showed us love from day one, man.
Granddaddy South.
Yeah, Granddaddy, man. That was one of my that's probably one of my top 5 episodes.
That
the first time he came on.
That kind of episode is where we got a great interview and a lot of details about Granddaddy South, and then I felt like it was for the culture, and I felt like it was important for Orlando to see, and we just didn't have ownership of our shit. Like we owned our shit, but we just didn't have all
them first great episodes is mysteriously erased.
Yeah, because your boy. I mean, we should already just start from like the beginning and where we started, like how we started doing the podcast.
Go ahead, tell them how we rocked it.
We started doing the podcast.
No, I always wanted to do a podcast. Like I've been knew about podcasts because I used to be on Tom and Dan's show. So they was the first people I ever seen with a fucking podcast. I didn't know, and I'm talking about they was doing a podcast like years ago. And when I went to their setup, that shit looked like a radio station inside.
Right.
So I was like, what the fuck is this? So that's when they started telling me what a podcast was. And back then I just was looking at it like, okay. Okay, I guess that, you know what I'm saying? So,
and they because they like the biggest. They on some Joe Rogan shit.
Yeah, and I was rocking with them from the beginning when Dan had it in his house.
Word.
So, but throughout the years, you know what I'm saying, I seen what it did. So I was like, hey, shit, I want to get on the radio, but none of these motherfuckers want to let me on the radio. Right. So I was like, fuck, maybe I'll start a podcast. You know what I'm saying? And the first person I thought of was you.
Right.
Because I used to listen to you on the radio and shit. What is it, Blaze, right?
Blaze in 103.7.
Yeah, Blaze. I used to listen to you on Blaze and, like we met each other before.
Right.
But we didn't, like, we wasn't tight as we was now. But,
right.
Like I ran into you before, I listened to you on the radio, but you was funny as hell. So that's what made me be like, you know what? I'm going to hit him up and see, if he's going to host a podcast with me. So I hit him up and, Black was with it and we linked up and, we talked about the things we wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? Not even things we wanted to do. We talked about shit we was going to do.
Right. That's what it is. We sat down. We mapped it out. Said, "This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do.
Yeah.
We're gonna do this. We're gonna have this guy. We're gonna interview this. We're gonna make it a live show. We gonna all this stuff that we talked about in that first when we sat down. We both were at different points in our life. We was living with some bitches.
Yeah. we both was fucked up at the time.
Yeah, we was fucked up. We was fucked up at the time, man.
We both was fucked up at the time, but that kind of like us doing the podcast was like, okay, that was like the breath of fresh air.
Right. It got us through, man. It got us through.
Like, it kind of was because I used to look forward. Like, what y'all don't know is we really for like 3 years straight did this show.
Yeah.
Every fucking Tuesday. And then we turned it to every Tuesday
and Thursday.
Faithfully.
Even so when we doing the podcast and we was doing it with a guy who had a vision. I ain't gonna shout him out because he whatever, man, but he had a vision about doing like a podcast network, so which was cool. And I was familiar with what a podcast was because of course I was doing terrestrial radio and all that kind of stuff. And then once that kind of dried up, I was trying to find my next avenue to broadcast, and so I was thinking about doing a podcast anyway. So it's funny how it worked out. But then when we planned it out, we sat down. Say you want to do a podcast? Yeah, man, meet me here tomorrow. You know what I mean? You pull up and we say this, we're gonna do this, and then everything that we talked about doing, we executed. And it's interesting the way we actually execute it is because we just kind of say it and then do it and then get it done. So we don't really like write it down or like make these like extravagant plans. Just say, yo, this is what we're gonna do, and then we execute it.
Yeah, we never wrote out an episode ever yet. I don't even think that'll turn out good for us.
Right.
Like, I like being off the rail type.
Off the rails, man. And it's I think with us doing it in our backgrounds, we coming up separately hosting events and acting and just work and interviewing guys and doing radio. You people who don't know was doing Mad Face TV. So the whole internet interviewing thing, he's like a pioneer at doing that. And so he's like one of the first doing it, interviewing celebrities and people on the internet. So he definitely the soldier boy of that. But we coming from that background, we just quick on our feet, we witty, so we able to do it. So what happened was, which is actually a good thing, not a bad thing. We never frown on, we never tell them, we never say anything bad about it. What happened is people emulate. It just kind of forms into people saying, hey, look, that looks fun.
Yeah, that's fun. Let's do it.
It looks easy, so let's do it. So what happens is people start doing it because we make it look so easy. Because we kind of just know how to do it, and we kind of found a groove, which is good and bad. And then a lot of those guys, they didn't last because it's a lot of work, especially if it don't come as easy to you as it come to us. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, because I think that's what separates us. Because I'm seriously, like, we used to really do this shit so we still kind of do it every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday and
Thursday. Like, you know what I'm saying? We might take off a day or two now because, we're doing bigger things now in our lives, but it's still close to every fucking, put it like this, every goddamn week. Right. At least, like, you know what I'm saying? And it takes a lot to do that.
It takes a lot to do it, especially that's the crazy thing about it. And a lot of our social media and just even our following, it doesn't match the magnitude of how big we were then and how big we are in our city. We move around in Orlando, people know us, give us respect. Because we started doing a live show, and then it started being like a packed live show, and it started being people sending us 5 pizzas or sending us food, or people setting up and cooking food for us. So we ended up having a party twice a week.
Shout out to Intervision TV too,
and shout out to Intervision.
We love them.
Snoop, Angie,
Sean P.
Angie, we drove Angie crazy for
Yeah,
2
shout out to
years.
Angie,
For
man. We
two,
drove
3
Angie.
years, we drove Angie crazy because, like I said, it started to be
crazy
a
show.
thing where it started to be. You got a football player here.
Yeah.
You got, Mike Sims Walker. You got Chris Johnson. You got these people coming in. You got this person from this reality TV show coming in just to watch the show, and then it's food, and it's people with vending, it's clothes, it's girls, it's strippers, you smoking, you drinking.
Yeah, it's like everything, man. It was the perfect thing to do on a Tuesday and a Thursday.
Right. And we did it all free. And I think that kind of hurt us in some regards because we could have maximized the sponsors, but we were like so open and so loving and so like inviting to people to come in. Oh, you do this, come in and do it.
Yeah, come through.
And so a lot of the love was returned, and some of the love was like people took for granted and just felt like they supposed to, we supposed to do certain things.